Welcome to our latest Hoopcast. I'm Pat Dooley along with Kevin Brockway from the Gainesville Sun. We're going to talk a little bit about Florida's win over Georgia and their upcoming game with Louisiana State University. And first, Kevin, Florida-Georgia was not easy on the eyes.
No, it was definitely one of those games where, but Georgia makes you play that way.
Yeah,
I will give that, Dennis Felton, we knew it was going to be kind of a defensive grinding game. I think what's very surprising is Florida giving up 67 points to that team and letting Sundiata Gaines get 32, and that was something that, Billy was obviously disappointed about after the game.
I'm convinced they're never going to be a good defensive team, at least this group. That the only thing that's going to solve their problem is recruiting. I just don't think, first of all, I think Billy made a great point, and that they keep winning without playing defense, so they don't get it, how important it is. And secondly, I just don't think they're very physically gifted defensively.
Well, yeah, you give up 76 points per game, and a lot of people think that defense is, all hustle and effort, and it's not really that way. I mean, you have to have guys like Corey Brewer, don't do it necessarily all through hustle and effort. I mean, they're long, athletic guys. And, certainly Corey put a premium throughout his career, but he had certain physical gifts that, maybe this group doesn't have.
Yeah, the bottom line is, though, they did get the win in a game they could not lose. Florida, we talked about it last week, a must-win game, and now they face another must-win game because this is an LSU team with one conference win. Their coach was fired. My theory on LSU coming in here is that that may have been it for them last week. They stayed within 2 points, or should have won the game actually against Tennessee, lost in the last seconds. Probably that was their last gasp. I don't know, I may be wrong on that, but I got a feeling they're going to come in here without a lot of emotion.
Yeah, they could come in here really flattered, they could come in here really inspired, but I think too that, we were just talking about the weather too, and they just barely got out in that storm at 1 o'clock, so I'm sure that threw off their travel plans a bit. Maybe they had to cut a practice, with regards to that. Maybe they wanted to get out a little bit later. So you're talking about a team that's coming in here, with an interim coach. They're a very young team like Florida. They rely on some freshmen and some inexperienced guys in their starting lineup. They do have one guy, though, in Marcus Thornton that's very dangerous, a junior college guy. He leads the SEC in scoring at 19.5 per game, and they certainly don't want him to go off because when he does, that's how they got their lone win. He had 38, and they beat Auburn. So they're going to have to do a good job shutting him down. But the rest of the team is pretty lousy from the perimeter.
Yeah, John Brady, I wrote a column about him today or on Monday, Kevin, and I'm going to miss the guy in a way, I guess. He was kind of antagonistic, but at least he was interesting. But I never thought much of him as a coach, even when they were going to the Final Four. Now, without talent, guess what? They aren't very good.
And I think that perception kind of, permeated even when they were winning and they were having success. I think even the LSU fan base never really appreciated him. I will say this, though. He's probably the one SEC coach that would probably be the most fun to go out and have a beer with.
There's no doubt about that. He's a piece of work, and unfortunately for him, he's no longer employed by Louisiana State University, although I imagine he's getting a nice check from them. Butch Pierre will be the coach, and when they come in here, I don't really know much about him. I know he played. I remember when he played, but other than that, I don't know if I don't think he's going to change anything up drastically.
Well, no head coaching experience. I was looking up his bio a little bit. Obviously, a player at Mississippi State and has had experience as an associate coach. So probably the same system and so forth. Obviously, it looks like, judging from his first game, when you judge from the numbers, probably got him to play a little bit better defense and holding Tennessee to 47 points and nearly pulling that game out. So maybe he tries to slow the game down, play a defensive game against Florida. But, certainly I think Florida, when you take a look at the numbers, probably due for a breakout game shooting-wise because they're still struggling from three-point range.
Well, the interesting thing, too, is that Florida's got a game of film, at least, on Butch Pierre coaching that team. And what did they do last week to slow it down? I mentioned to Billy after the game, I go, wow, 47-45. And he goes, yeah, isn't that unbelievable? Tennessee had like 100 threes against Florida. I told him, I thought there was a shot clock in college basketball, but he said, there's ways you can still keep it down to that number. But there's no question Florida's going to try to run, get the game going. It's a Wednesday night. There'll be a loud crowd. It'll be interesting to see if they can get the game going at their tempo.
And I think, there might have been a residual hangover effect, too, in the Georgia game from those two blowout losses. And now you have a few days. You're kind of in your bed. You're at home. You've been practicing at home. You don't have to worry about the travel now. Maybe Florida comes out a little refreshed and, plays a little bit more crisp. Because I thought that there were, even though they only had about 10 or 12 turnovers, there were a lot of kind of like, fumbled balls and stuff. It was not necessarily a crisp game. So it'll be interesting to see if they come out and play with a little bit more, continuity. And certainly Nick Calathis, had one of the more subpar offensive games of the season too. And it'll be interesting to see if he bounces back or if this is a sign of, potential
Freshman
fatigue
wall.
for a freshman. Yeah.
Yeah, I asked Chandler Parsons when he was saying he got tested for all these things. I did. Did you get tested for freshman wall? He said no, but it's coming. And for some of these guys, it may come in different stages. But it'll be interesting. No question, though, Kevin, Florida's got to win this game. And if they do, 7-3, 20-5, not bad.
No, definitely. For a first-year team with 5 new starters, I mean, you have to give Billy and the rest of the coaching staff certainly a lot of credit for that. And, it takes some of the pressure off of that Vanderbilt game on Saturday. Yeah. You don't want to go in there thinking of that as a must-win game. And, you take care of the games that you're supposed to win. And now we're seeing, too, with South Carolina, which comes in here, next week. They're a team that plays very well on the road, and they took Vanderbilt to the wire. So that certainly isn't as much of a gimme as he maybe appears. So this one here is very important.
I got a feeling you're going to see some weird results these last 6 games in the SEC. It's just the way it all works out. Everybody's seen everybody. Everybody knows what everybody does. You have fatigue factors. Some teams with seniors can go past it, and you may see some upsets in that regard. So we'll see. It'll be interesting in the SEC. That'll do it for today's Hoopcast. I got an email last week. My dad told me to get my hair cut. Dad, I got my hair cut.
Looks very sharp, Pat.
I hope you're happy. Well, I mean, I'm 53, and my dad's making me get my hair cut. Come on. That's going to do it for Kevin Brockway, Pat Dooley, the Gainesville Sun. See you next time.